Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. My name is Dee. I think most folks know me by now, and I'm joined by Andy. And our agenda for today includes going through some new features that have been released. We're also going to do a couple of shout outs to get you all to sign up for some early access programs that are upcoming. We'll review our roadmap, and then we're going to be here to answer any questions that you have as well. As always, please use the Q&A module in Zoom to ask your questions. And with that, we'll walk through our stuff for today. Before we kick off into features that have been released and things that are happening, I'm going to take a moment to comment on the cover slide here and our brand refresh. You might have noticed we look a little bit different right now. We're a little more bold. We're probably more adventurous. And I think it's really a nod to the fact that we've changed a lot as a company in this past year, and we've really just updated our branding to reflect those changes. From my perspective, seeing the new brand come to life has been really pretty energizing. And I think it also is going to give us a nice set of strong neutral colors. And we're going to use those colors to support the work that we've already been doing in product to update our user experience. And so you'll see a lot of that more later as we show some new screens and some things that are coming up inside of product. So with that, let me hand it over to Andy to talk about a couple things that have released this past week.
So we've released a fairly sizable update to our new mobile app. It adds an all-new searchable assets module. So on the new assets tab, you'll be able to see a list of all your endpoints. And this is also going to support your custom assets as well. So all of your asset types will be available within this module. You're going to be able to search for specific assets here as well as your saved asset searches, which are available. Can you go back one slide, Dee? The little line icon there will be filters, and that'll show all your saved asset searches that you can bring into the app as well. On the next slide, the overview tab, you're going to see some key information about the asset, along with some key actions you can take there as well, such as triggering remote access sessions with Splashtop, triggering reboots right from this page, and then you can even start a live chat session right from within this page as well. And then on the next slide, on the details tab, that represents your assets hardware inventory. This basically emulates that hardware tab that you see on the web that's got all the asset information on it. Then my favorite part on the last tab, you can now run and schedule scripts right from within this scripts tab. It's also going to show you any scripts that you've currently got in your queue, along with any scripts that have run in the past with the history tab there. So overall, this is a really big update to our mobile app. And this came out a couple days ago, so you guys can download it now, both on the iOS and Android stores.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, before you move on to the next section, Andy, I did want to mention to folks, I want to just make sure that folks are downloading the new app. And so the new app is called Syncro Mobile. We do still have our older Syncro MSP app that is out in the App Store. We're going to make it a lot clearer as we move forward, so you'll be able to really easily see what's the new app and what's the old app in an upcoming release. But we left the old app out there because there is some capability around invoicing and scanning that people were still using, and we really didn't want to take that away. But we've really been investing a lot in the new app. I think especially with this release, it's been kind of much awaited. And so we're, I think it'll be great to have assets in there and to be able to get directly into your asset remote in without needing to have tickets attached to that already. We've also made a bunch of other updates. There's more to come on the roadmap. We had, I think, a couple thousand people use the app last month. I'm expecting a lot more to hop in there and start using it this month post-release. So take a look and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and to be fair, like our old app was not awesome. This new app is awesome. So this is one that we're really proud of, and this is definitely one we're going to continue investing in. So the other new feature we released, and this is only going to apply to some folks, it's small change for folks who use invoicing in Syncro, but they want to take their payments in QuickBooks Online. So when invoices sync, they will now have their payment flags enabled on the QuickBooks side, so you no longer have to enable that on an invoice by invoice basis when attempting to take payments from QuickBooks Online directly. It's a new customer per customer setting So if you edit or you create a customer, it's going to be in there for you. And you'll be able to independently set whether you want to enable it for credit cards or ACH or both. And again, it would be on a per customer basis, so you can configure every customer how you like. Dee, I'm going to pass it back to you. I know you want to talk about the new updates to the Microsoft Team webhooks.
Right. Yeah. So more of a public service announcement for folks. Anyone that is using the Teams integration with Syncro, many of you might have seen it. Microsoft did announce plans. They're retiring their webhook-based 365 connectors as of the end of January 2025. So I think it's January 31, 2025. And so if you're using the Teams integration, you're going to need to take a little bit of action. It should be pretty quick and painless. You're going to create new workflow URLs that you're going to apply to your Syncro integration. And so once you've created those workflow URLs, you're just going to update the notification sets inside of Syncro to take advantage of those. I put the link to the Doc Center here, but if you just go to our Doc Center, type in Teams, there's a step-by-step right there. I've talked to a couple folks that have done it. They say it's a few minutes of work, no problem at all. If you don't get it done before the end of January, your integration will stop working, but the minute you make the change, it will start working. So it's not like you fall off a cliff at the end of January, but ideally folks are getting this done if you want to just have it be seamless and continue to work. All right. With that, let's move into talking about a couple of early access projects. And I will do a little reminder to folks that if you have questions for us, to use that Q&A module, just because when we go through it at the end, sometimes for Andy and I, as we're trying to field questions and make sure we don't miss anything, it's just a whole lot easier to have those tools at our disposal to be able to use the Q&A one. So I'd really appreciate it if you could pop in there with any questions you have. That'd be great. All right, so early access. Two projects that I wanted to talk about that are coming into early access. It will likely be as we roll into the new year, we're going to have these available to you. We might end up releasing sooner, but over the last couple weeks of the year, there are a lot of folks, I think, that have some time off and different things. I know for a lot of you, there's like some end of year cleanup and things you're doing to, hopefully also be able to get a little chance to take a breath before the new year starts. And so but both of these will be coming out to you, will be available no later than that early part of January. And so the first is this ticket page redesign. We've talked about this a couple of times, but I am going to preview it a little bit in case you haven't seen it. And so the ticket page redesign is really, it's around a few things. And so one, it's just a real refresh on the overall user experience on the ticket page. And this is an experience that you will see us flow through to other parts of our application as well. And so the idea here is like a standardized set of controls around tickets. So making it super easy to see all of your ticket views on the left-hand side. You can actually see inside of those views the count of tickets in each view without having to open the view. If you switch views, or you can actually edit, inline edit right inside the view. So you can actually inline edit different fields here without needing to leave the view. You can switch easily between different views by going back and forth. There's some color coding, so you can kind of easily eyeball your status. You can actually group things and you can see things in different groups. And so we've really just made the whole process of working with your tickets, going back and forth, not needing to use the browser back button, all of that, just like a whole lot easier, a lot fewer clicks, a lot cleaner, and just much more visual. And so this is one of the areas where you can see we have leaned into some of our new colors. We've we're moving into a world where we're really taking advantage of a lot of like dark gray and black, and then some color to really bring forward different things like status and really just a more powerful use of color in the UI. So once again, this will be available to folks. The way we're going to make this available, because we know this hits every technician's workflow that uses Syncro for ticketing is going to be, potentially impacted by this, and hopefully in really positive ways. That being said, we want to go a little bit cautiously. And so what we're going to do is make this available essentially as a toggle for you. And so at the account level, you'll be able to say, yes, I want to turn on the new ticket views. And if you turn it on, then everyone will get the new view of tickets. You can work in the new view. If for any reason you run into something that you feel like is unworkable in the new view, you can very, very easily toggle back. And so you can go back to the old way of working if you run into something. And so that's the way we'll run this out through early access so that we make sure we don't have any hiccups or glitches in the system. There's a lot here. There's a lot of workflows that people undergo. We think we have it all covered. We've been doing a lot of testing internally, but we're really excited to get this in your hands so that you can use it in your day-to-day and help us continue to make it better. All right, and then the second thing that is coming out in early access really soon is the tech utilization report. And I know we've talked a lot about this one, so I'm not going to walk through kind of all of this in great detail, but the tech, sorry, utilization report is going to really easily allow you to take advantage of a lot of the work that we've done over the past months in and around how we allow you to track time inside of the app, and so that you can take a look at where folks are spending time, how many tickets they're closing. You can look at a subset of your technicians. You can look at all of them. You can be able to segment them. You can kind of see visuals over time. And so it's really kind of just bringing this all kind of into a package where you can get a really good view of what's happening on your team with the report. And so where can I get early access for these? And I meant to include a screenshot and I did not. But there are sign up links right on the roadmap on the website. And so you can either just go to the website and hit the roadmap, or here's the URL for the roadmap. Once again, apologies, I didn't put a screen in there, but there's a link right there to sign up. So anyone that's interested, please sign up. The product managers for these various projects will reach out to you. They'll give you more information. They'll give you instructions. We'll have things in our doc center to help describe how they work, and look forward to getting these rolled out to you all and hearing from you about them. All right. And then I think I was going to talk through a couple parts of the in-progress roadmap. So in-progress roadmap, we've talked about a couple of these things. So that we've talked about the ticket page redesign, which will be coming out in early access soon. Sign up today. Tech utilization reporting, same thing, in progress and on its way. And then the next two, customer portal design updates. I believe we've covered this before. This is a project that you should see early in 2025. And this is really just us refreshing the design on your end user portal. So making it so it has a left hand. We've already released the changes that allow you to crop your logo, look at your logo, and provide your specific colors, whether it's a specific hex code or anything to get your colors just right. And then this will be adding essentially left-hand navigation, making it much easier to find things, making the create a ticket button much more prominent, available on every page, and just a general overall cleanup and refresh on portal. And that should be available to you early next year. And then the Windows patching dashboard, we've moved that from up next to in progress. And so we are looking at creating a centralized place for you to be able to see all of your, patches that are missing, be able to easily understand like what they are, links to the KBs, and kind of just get a picture of your whole fleet, as opposed to having to kind of go customer by customer. You'll also be able to look customer by customer if that's how you'd like to look. And so it's just really a whole refresh on to make it much more proactive for you to be able to hop in there and manage patches. With that, I think I will hand it over to Andy, who's going to talk a little bit about what's up next.
Yeah, so there hasn't been too many changes here in the up next bucket on our roadmap since last month, but I did want to let folks know that network discovery is imminently moving to in progress. I know that's one everybody is excited about, including me. And then also on the heels of our new mobile app update, we are now moving mobile app mentions for tickets to in progress as well. So these are both now under active development as well. So that's it for today's updates. We're going to switch over to some Q&A now. And as a reminder, as Dee said, just make sure you guys are using the Q&A button down there in Zoom to ask your questions, because the chat can be a little bit unruly to try to pull some questions out of. So that's what we're going to be looking at them. So first question I see is, this is from Tom. Hey, Tom. Just a quick note. Tom, actually, we interviewed Tom not too long ago for Syncro as a company. We were eating some like really disgusting candy while it was like a hot wings alternative. So that was kind of funny. He brought his son on. That was a good time. He's asking if QuickBooks Online Payment is an alternative to WorldPay. It's not, but it's basically for folks that want to do all their invoicing in QuickBooks, or excuse me, in Syncro up to the point they want to send it to the customer and collect a payment. They're handling that part in QuickBooks. So that is a viable option if you didn't want to send it from Syncro and take payments within Syncro. You could still do everything up to that point, sync your invoice over to QuickBooks, and then handle the payment over there. Michael's asking, in the new app, are there any plans to increase the character limit in the tickets? There is. So I just got a note right before this. So I guess I can talk about this quick now because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of questions. There's a bunch of quality of life things that we have flagged for the mobile app. The first one is the to support the new at mention feature where you can basically ping other text privately on tickets. We're going to add that next. The character limit is directly behind that. And then there's some other stuff, like making phone numbers click to call, using like the addresses you click and it goes to your Maps app, and then copy and paste function, things like that. So definitely a lot of quality of life stuff coming, but the character limit is next up on the list for sure. Richard's asking if there's any plans to add payment processors besides WorldPay and QuickBooks. We do also support Stripe for credit card payments, Richard, and then we may be looking at another provider next year, but we don't have any details on that today.
Yep. I think that's a fair way to answer it, for sure. I've definitely heard it from folks, and so we will, as we roll into 2025, have more to talk about there. I'll grab that next one from Aaron saying, are the groups and tickets, are they just tags, or is there some new field or something called groups? Essentially, the grouping capability that you saw in the ticket views, you can choose what you would like to group by. So if you wanted to group by tag, you can group by tag. You can also group by technician if you want to see things grouped by technician or status of ticket or issue type. There are a whole bunch of different things that you can just select which one you'd like to group on. And then it gives you that nice way to kind of look at things, based on your lens, however you want to structure your work and for your team.
Andrew's asking, will the UI have dark mode? I saw a bunch of product people all just say yes in all capital letters with exclamation points. So yes, it will. Bill's asking, he wants a way to modify a priority for tickets. Using custom fields is not good enough for the ticket page. Can we customize a priority field or add a new field that allows a technician to prioritize his own ticket? There are ticket tags, but I want to do it without tags. Well, if you're just talking about ticket priorities, we do support ticket priorities. If you're talking about making like custom priorities, Bobby, if you can check me on the back end, I don't know if that's something that we're considering or not. And then outside of that, there's a billion ways to like filter and view your tickets. I mean, tags would be one. There's custom fields is another. And then like the ticket categories is another. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. So Bill, if you want to ask a follow-up and let me know like specifically what you're trying to do that you're not able to do, I can try to see if we've got I'm sure there's something in place that we could do it for you today. Julian's asking about us improving our patch management features. I think Dee just answered this one in the on deck stuff. The new patching dashboard, I've seen mocks of it. It's very, very cool. I think this will fill in the gaps for what you might be looking for. If you're looking for something that wasn't included in that, let us know. But I think that's going to fill in most of the holes that folks have been asking about.
Right. I think there's probably some other enhancements as well for patching, but I'm always interested to hear more. But we're looking right now at this dashboard, and then I've heard as well in terms of feature updates that there are some things that people want us to be able to support, kind of more ease in and around feature updates, and then potentially some other capabilities around just kind of getting Windows patches scheduled and notified. And so always happy to hear more, but our next step is this patching dashboard, and then we'll go from there based on what we hear from all of you.
Grant's asking, we're currently using Syncro and other. Okay, I'm going to rephrase this. He's just basically asking if we're going to allow tap to pay with our mobile app. Check me on this if I'm going to say this wrong, but I think generally the idea of our mobile app is to really support the role of I'm a technician on site and to be able to quickly handle your tickets, quickly handle emergencies that might pop up at another site that might be taking priority over where you're at, things like that. This is less about managing the other elements of your business. You could always access the web app for the more business-oriented things like reports and invoicing and things, but I think we're really going to try to focus on that life of a technician, and that's not really doing invoices and payments and things. Is that accurate to say, D?
Actually, 100% accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, we really, really focused in on technician on the go and assuming that from a business perspective, folks will be relying on the web app more.
Al is asking another question similar to the payments one about ACH with Stripe. So what I'll just say is, when we do look at this next year, and we will look at it next year, ACH with Stripe is something that may be considered as well. An entirely new provider may be considered. We may ultimately decide that the providers we have are what we'll stick with. So I just don't have any more information for you on that one right now. But I wouldn't rule it out. We'll put it that way. Jared is asking, will Sentinel One ever be integrated? I will say never. 2025, as I mentioned last time, is going to be the year of the new partnerships and integrations. So we're definitely taking a look at everybody. And I would say nobody's excluded from that list. So I won't say yes or no, but I'll just say that stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot of really, really cool things with our marketplace and integrations next year.
I'll answer one from
Do
Mike.
you want to pick up any? I'm gonna research something for somebody really quick.
I can pick up one from Mike, who's saying, are there any plans to make it so that individual Syncro users can have their own views? Or will it always be kind of everyone has the same views and that changes to views are global? And so I will say that today, you can today in ticket views create a private ticket view so that only you can see it. And then if you're an administrator, you are also able to create views and then assign them to individual technicians so that only they can only see the views you want them to see. And so there are a bunch of different ways you can be flexible if you want to have kind of custom views either for yourself that are private, or if you want to have folks on the team have only access to certain views of tickets. Both of those are supported today.
Aaron's asking about, oops, sorry, scroll off the page. How non-billable time, how you can set that up. So basically it should be on. Bobby in the background, check me if I'm wrong on this one, but it should be on by default. There is parameters that you can set in the ticket preferences and your admin settings for like whether the time is non-billable by default, like if you want to start it that way. And then once you're used to using that, you can go into your contracts and you can define any labor type you want by contract. Yeah, Bobby says it is on by default. Based on your labor type. So you can say like labor type A is non-billable by default, labor type B is billable by default, and that'd be on a per contract basis that would of course apply to specific customer.
Great. I'll answer one. Someone asked, are there any plans for adding an estimate report? I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're looking for there. There's nothing right now on the roadmap, but we're always looking for, what are the next things. And so love to hear a little bit more about what you're looking for there. And then I'll grab one more from Julian, who says the dashboard is great, but the patching process just doesn't work that well. Too many of my client machines are not patched. And so I guess I would ask, we did a massive update last month to the way we roll out Windows patching and the way we categorize patches for Windows. And so what we and we saw that we were, now appropriately categorizing and patching. It was like, several nines worth of patches that we're rolling out there. And so I am curious, and I don't know if it's a support issue or if there was something else, but I feel like with last month's update, especially, we made it so that things that might have been tucked into other are now hopefully getting categorized appropriately and then patched appropriately. If there's something else that's missing from patching, I think we'd need to hear more because I'm just not aware of it.
I'll pull a couple here. James is asking, is there a default view to see a list of customers and drill down from there? There's not a default view per se, but normally you'd go in there intending to search for a specific customer. But head over to our community forums when you get a chance. Just add that as a feature request. If you'd like to see it come up in a certain way, that'd be fine too. We can certainly take a look at that. Somebody's asking about asset archiving. Is it fair to say, D, that's one we're going to take a look at in 2025?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely know what folks are after there. So that'll definitely be one on the that's on the radar. There's a couple follow-up questions. I think there's some confusion on the QuickBooks feature. Again, this has nothing to do with taking payments in Syncro. This was exclusive to people who were running an invoice in Syncro. It would sync to QuickBooks Online, and then out of QuickBooks Online, they would send the invoice to the customer, and it included payment links. And what would happen is when we sync that invoice over, it's fair to say that this is more like an enhancement than really a new feature because it's really not. But what would happen is you can turn on ACH and or credit cards by invoice basis in QuickBooks Online, and that's what the customer would see. So you can say, okay, you're going to be able to pay by credit card, by ACH, or by both. We, through our integration just from years ago, disable that. So folks were having to go into every single invoice in QuickBooks, turn these back on prior to sending them. It was just a pain in the ass for them. So there's some questions here that are asking like, is this something that's available in Xero? Xero doesn't have this problem. Like you can send invoices out of Xero today and it'll have the payment links. This was just specifically a problem with QuickBooks Online and the way that we're handling that part of the integration. And then, so yeah, same thing with the other question about, is this going to work in the UK? This will work anywhere with QuickBooks Online. This isn't, again, a payment thing. It's only if you have your payments already set up through QuickBooks Online. Gabby's saying that the new mobile app is much better. Thank you. Is there a way to add in search for assets or asset grouping by client? Search for assets actually is what we just released, so that's live now. And then asset grouping by client, there's two ways to do this. If you go on the asset page, and it's not really like a feature that we promoted, but you can just search for the customer name and it will actually show you all assets that belong to that customer. I just tested that the other day. And then for asset grouping, you could also, if you wanted, make a saved asset search for specific customers if you find that you're going on site and you're accessing them quite frequently. So you could just have a one-click access to it if you wanted to do it that way also.
Someone was just asking about the early sign up URL, which we can certainly post in chat for the sign up, but it's just syncromsp.com/roadmap. And you can get the sign up URLs right there.
Somebody's asking about Square being a payment option. And I would probably say no. I'm going to say that we're not going to rule out anything, but Square is more for retail. And that's not necessarily what we're looking for here. So I don't think that'll be one, but again, we're going to investigate that. And then Luke's asking, is there any plans for MDM with Syncro in the future? Again, D, check me if I say something I shouldn't on this one, but I think the fair answer to that one would be not natively, but there's probably a good chance that we're going to partner with one or more folks there to kind of like an integration similar to what you see with Domots, where you can bring in like the network discovery elements beyond what Syncro handles natively. And we'll be looking to potentially do something like that with one of those vendors going forward.
Tom Bull asking around decommission and archiving devices. Absolutely, we're going to look into doing that for you, Tom, next year for everyone to find a cleaner way. I know people have a bunch of different workarounds for how they do things like that, but a clean way to archive your devices for sure. And then I got a question around chats on the mobile app from Josh around, are chats supposed to be updating on the new mobile app, that they're having an issue with their chats updating. And it sounds like that is an issue that we were made aware of, and we are currently working on making that refresh work. So that should be hopefully coming soon, something we discovered in the release.
Al's asking if we have any intent to spread the rich text features around now that we've got that solid with ticketing. And yes, I don't have any ETAs for you, but I know like canned responses for tickets is one that comes up a lot with rich text. And I think people would like to see us update the documentation center with some more rich text stuff. So yeah, that's definitely something we're going to be looking to expand on in the future. And then Bobby, if you're listening on this one, or Rob, whichever, Manuel's asking, we added a while back a quality of life feature for like last month, current month, next month in recurring invoices like tags. So it would say like July's billing, August billing, depending if you bill in arrears or you bill for the month you're in. And Manuel's asking if we can do the same thing for a year, like last year, current year, next year. I don't see why not. I think that's a good suggestion. So yeah, if you guys are listening, I think that's a good feedback. Yeah, Bobby says yes, agreed.
Right. Yeah, another good suggestion here from Ben. I'll say it out loud so the team hears it as well. But is there a good way to merge a bulk of tickets instead of just merging your tickets one by one? I think that's a great suggestion, Ben, and something that it feels like we should be able to hopefully try to tackle something like that.
Yeah, that was actually a big issue for my MSP2 in Vegas. We had some rural folks that had really crappy internet, and when it went down, we'd get like 50 responses from the same company, and yeah, not being able to merge them together is a pain. So definitely like that feature request. Gabby says the new changes are very exciting, and I really appreciate all the hard work and improvements you guys are implementing. Thank you. I'm concerned that you guys are going to get gobbled up by Kaseya at this rate. What could you say to to permanently prevent this. I could say Kaseya sucks. I don't really know what I could say to promise you that's not going to happen beyond that. We have no intent to sell to Kaseya. I'll say that for sure. And I think we all share the same sentiment you do, but I'm glad to hear that you think we're on the right track. Anything you want to add to that, T?
I would just say that, yeah, that's not, it would be a wildly surprising development. I really don't think there's any any possibility of that happening. I've been coached to never say never in my career, but like I really want to say never.
Will the app allow splash top connectivity? Yeah, David, that's actually something we just added. So you're going to look for I think it's called Splash Top for RMM, the mobile app. So as long as that's on your mobile device, when you're in the assets, there's a button there for remote access, and it will just launch with a deep link right into Splash Top directly. Dee, do you want to talk about this one? Steve's asking a question. Will the visible columns in various pages, tickets, assets, etc., be customizable on a per user or per custom view mode? I know we've got big updates there. I just don't know if that part of it is part of it.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to get clarification from the product manager if that I know I've seen it in a prototype, but I have not seen it live yet, which makes me hesitate to answer it. So I'm gonna put that one. I'm gonna put a pin in that one for a couple minutes and see if I can get clarification of if it's in this rev or not. I know it was something we were intending to do, and the new table control does allow you to do customizations of which columns show up, and I'm like pretty darn sure that those columns can be also customizable per view. I don't know that it's going to be per user as much as, but I believe if Andy makes a view for Andy and I make a view for me, we can each have our own columns in our own views. But if we're both using the level 1 ticket view, that's the place I'm not sure that we could actually customize the columns differently for that single view, if that makes sense. So I need to get some clarity on that.
DM, this is another one I'm going to answer, but I want you to gut check me on it. Mike is asking, any discussion about possibly adding a Linux agent at some point? As of today, I would say probably no. I will say as a backup, you can monitor a healthy amount of things through SNMP, which we do have a lot of folks doing today. But Dee, did you want to add anything to that one?
I will say that like there have been some developments that lead me to believe we might be able to get to something both improved on Mac as well as something, and it will be something very lightweight for Linux because Linux is it's a challenging, so they've made it very challenging to do anything real from a Linux perspective. There's a lot of limitations, but I would say like, more to come in 2025, but it is something that is bubbling up more and more on the radar, both because I'm hearing it in forums like this, as well as kind of just like from various folks. I am hearing that folks have, a handful of Linux machines and they want a little bit more than SNMP monitoring for them. And so it's not off the list for 2025. I just don't have anything locked in place for it yet.
And then, okay, so in that same regard, Michael's asking about Mac patching being on the horizon.
We know we need to make improvements to Mac in 2025. I just don't want to overpromise exactly what comes when. But there's a lot of there are a lot of improvements with latest versions of .NET that might allow us to have some really good multi-platform support. And so, like I said, once again, I don't want to overstate how much we're going to get as part of doing some underlying upgrades, but it's definitely something I've heard loud and clear. Mac as well as Linux support is something that we need to put some time and energy into for sure.
Rob is asking, any chance of updating the script status? He wrote a lot, but just to summarize, he's like, if I run like a script against like 130 machines, it's hard for me to visualize like where it is across all 130 endpoints without going into each individual endpoint. So I think you're asking for like some kind of dashboard or a way to see like, hey, I ran this job, show me the status of where it's at with these. And Lindsay, if you're on the background here, if you want to answer, I don't know. I know that comes up quite a lot, but I think that is an interesting one if we don't have it planned, but I'm kind of curious if it is. Or maybe do you know something off the top of your head?
No.
Okay.
I'll answer. There's a question in from Administrator None, who asked, did we say that Splashtop is a separate download for the mobile app? And yes, what you'll want to do is just download the Splashtop app from the either the Google Store or the Apple Store based on your platform. It's a free download. And then once you have that downloaded, we can take advantage of that in the Syncro app. And so once you make that download, it's free and it would just work. It's kind of magical.
Somebody's asking about Duo being added as a 2FA method. I was under the impression that you could add just about anybody. Duo should be included in that, right? Someone on the product side, please, if you could gut check me on that in the background. Yes, Bobby says yes. So you should be able to use that today. Carl's asking about payments. He's asking specifically about payment terminals. I'll say it like this, Carl. If we do wind up partnering with somebody next year and they support payment terminals, great. That's not really going to be like a criteria that we're going to base anything on, just because again, it's not really designed for the retail outlets at this point. So yeah, again, if it's there, great, but it won't be part of the criteria that we consider it on.
Can you filter ticket views, or can you filter easily a view of tickets based on billing status? And basically, you can set up a ticket view that does filter by billing status. There isn't like an ad hoc filter in all tickets to just say billing status, but it's super easy to just set up a view and add a filter to that view to say for billing status. And then with this new update, it's going to be really easy to navigate and find that view as well. And so, yes, the way I would do it would be to just set up a view that you go back to look at billing status.
Abner's asking about a Wave accounting integration. Abner, I wish I had the data on me, but I just saw something the other day that was like 80% of everybody is using Intuit in this space, and it was like 15% was using Xero. And then the rest was just using miscellaneous stuff like Zoho Books or Wave or whatever. So I say as of today, there's no plans for that. Obviously, if Wave starts to penetrate the market much better than it is today, that may change. But we're always looking to make sure we're maximizing our resources on things that the vast majority of folks would benefit from. So as of today, no, but again, that could always change in the future based on active usage. Christopher's asking if there's plans for like a Calendly integration. You know what, Christopher? Honestly, there wasn't, but I know how many people use we do have like a light version of that, and there has been people, I've been getting a lot of requests recently for like a more advanced version of that. So I'll check with the product people, and I'll tell you what, like if that's not on our roadmap, Bobby's saying Calendly would be sick. If it's not on our roadmap to improve that, then I'll have a conversation and we'll see if there's something else that we might be able to bring in to give you guys some additional functionality there. Because I do like that idea, and it's becoming so common. I could see where that'd be really beneficial. So yeah, stay tuned on that.
And then Michael asked a question on which Splashtop app to download, and I just took a look in the App Store and I realized there are quite a few. I downloaded Splashtop for RMM, and then this is going to be a shout out to Bobby to say like maybe we put something right in the app or something like a little pop-up when you go to remote access to be like download this app in order to make this work. So let's try to make that easier if we could. But I downloaded Splashtop for RMM onto my phone and it worked fine.
Jason's asking, are there any plans to expand the prepaid hours block hour feature? I'd have to say I'm curious what you're thinking there. I think the only thing you're probably going to ask for is I would like it to apply to certain labor types and not other labor types. If that is, let me know. And then I see Rob typing in the background, so I'm pretty sure he's going to say that's on the radar for next year, but he's responding to something else. But Rob, let me know if that's on the radar for next year. Improving the prepaid hours so it can support specific labor types. Like for instance, if I did emergency labor overnight, I wouldn't want that to consume a normal hour. It'd probably consume something else. Let me find out for you, Jason. Mobile assets, can it be made to allow searching by last logged in user? It can't. David, let me know your use case on that. I'm trying to understand what you're looking for specifically there. Are you just trying to find out like where a user is within an org, like based on the machine? I'm curious what you're trying to do there. James is asking, and indeed, check me on this one too. Has there been any discussion about two-way invoice sync with QuickBooks? I know that certain things like payments do sync back from QuickBooks to Syncro. I'm not exactly sure if we'd ever really build it where you can do invoicing out of another platform completely and then sync it back to Syncro. I mean, everything in Syncro is really designed, especially the way that we handle tickets and contracts with all the dynamic billing and all that stuff to do those things. I mean, if you did your invoicing in QuickBooks, you would just be eating a ton of manual time, like tracking all that stuff over there. So I don't really think we have an intention to take it to that level where you're taking it out of Syncro. But if I'm misunderstanding your question, let me know. And is that safe to say, D?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I'd love to hear, I guess, if there is like a use case for what you'd want to do with it back in Syncro. It could be interesting, but what you're saying is right, Andy. I think, with the way it's built and intended to be used is kind of on that frontward facing, like we're like intending you to use it the whole way through. And so I think it could get very, very messy to try to pull something back in. And depending on what you'd want to do with it, once you got it back in, it feels like we might be creating a little bit of a tough situation to manage. I'm going to answer from Sean, and I'm like opening my app to make sure. Yeah, as you can all tell, I do a fair amount of work in prototypes, and then I try to look at what's live. So he's like, can we get an online, offline circle icon next to the asset in the mobile app just for a quick check before clicking in? And yes, it's in there. So we do have an online dot on next to the asset name in the app.
Is there a way to search all the contacts on the mobile app, or is that part of the new quality of life features you're asking about? Jesse, if you want to ask another question, it's not part of the app today, but basically anywhere that you would want to see a contact, you would. Like if you're creating a ticket and you're saying it like it's for customer A, you'd see all the relevant tickets there. If you open up like an asset and it's assigned to contact B, it would show that there. So I'm trying to understand what you're doing where you'd like search for a contact instead of like as part of a ticket or as part of a device or something like that. I just got to read this because it's funny. Christopher says, any plans to buy Kaseya to manage your product roadmaps as well as you guys do? I will say no, because I think they're doing a really good job for us. Kaseya is a great source of customers for us, and I would never like to see that change, but thank you for the feedback. Any plans to improve reporting? We're looking for a report that would show every asset assigned to a specific customer contact. James, I would say right now, I don't think there's anything on the docket for that specifically. I think that's an interesting idea. Let me know how you're, in fact, just so we don't waste a lot of time here, just email me, andy@syncromsp.com, and let's talk about a couple of things. You can go onto like a contact and see that, I believe, but I don't think there's a report that we'd have to do that. So email me and let me know exactly what you're trying to do, and then I'll feed that back to the product folks.
I want to acknowledge John did a follow-up from Sean's question about the online, offline circle for assets. It was asking for it at the view level and the list level. It's not there at the view and list level today. It's only in the asset. I will say we can take a look at adding it at the view level. A lot of things we did in the mobile app, we try to be really, really conscious of speed and performance of the app, as well as sucking your battery power down while you're using an app. And so I'm not sure that we can do something like that without having the app turn into a little bit of a hog, but we can take a look at it.
Aaron's saying, I'm currently looking to move away from IT Glue and want to move all our documentation to Syncro. However, it's not as robust. Well, that IT Glue is, that's all they do is the documentation piece. Is there any plans to expand the documentation KB module? I think when we were talking about like updates to rich text and things like that, I think those are the types of updates you see. But I think as far as documentation goes, we'll always have a light version of documentation. And I think we're more likely to pass over the heavy documentation type stuff to companies where that's all they do. There is another integration that we do have for documentation from a company called Hoodoo. Heard nothing but good things about them. So if you're looking for an alternative, check them out because we have a great integration with them. And like I said, we only hear good things about them.
A quick question from someone asking just how do we vote on feature requests? And so I'm going to say this is a multifaceted answer. So today we have some spots on our community forum where folks will put in feature requests and you're able to reply to them, and replying to them is one way to kind of upvote them. I also do in the app, I put out pop-up messages that ask you 1 to 10, like how lucky you'd be to recommend Syncro. I also ask for your feedback in there, right in the app. I'm also planning for 2025, so sorry, to move our feedback mechanism so that, sorry, I think a tree just came down inside my house. Sorry, I'm looking to.
Are you okay, Dee?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Looking to move the feedback mechanism, so it'll be right inside the app, and so that right from that little question mark pop up, you'll be able to give us feedback. We're going to take it in. We're going to see how many people are looking through that, and kind of be a lot more diligent really about kind of maybe reporting back out on that as well to folks. We're going to get it so it can be in a cadence that we're talking about it and potentially talking about it here in our monthly updates. And then The other thing I did in the summer, I did a survey. About 600 folks responded to the survey. I plan to probably do another one in the early part of 2025. And I will do an update to folks in January with a little bit of maybe a look back at 24 and then a look ahead, a kind of big picture at 25. But one of the things that that summer survey did, and I'm hoping a winter survey will do the same, is it gave me a really good picture of what are the top 10 things that our audience really, really wants us to focus on. And we've been kind of ticking through those top 10 items as quickly as we can, while also kind of trying to get a lot of the smaller things done in and around the cracks of that. And so that'll be the way we approach it as well. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but a bunch of different ways you can get feedback in, and we're going to be streamlining it more in 25. So it'll be mostly coming in right in through the product, so you can just get it right into our team.
Gabby's asking, any plans for integration with Google Calendar with the Syncro calendar? Gabby, we have that today. So if you head over in the App Center, just check out the Google app card there, and that's specifically what that's for. Is there any thought of adding a true inventory module? We're an in-house IT team, and we want to keep track of devices that we own that may not actually be deployed to one of our stores. Yeah, you can do this today, Elliot. So there's two notions with assets basically in Syncro. There's asset management, which is RMM. You deploy the Syncro agent to it. There's also what I would call asset tracking. So there's two ways to do it. If you want to have the Syncro agent on it, that's fine. And you can just set yourself up as a customer and then put all your endpoints under that. If it's other stuff, just like printers and network devices, or even things that you want to have and deploy later, you can settle it up within Syncro. You can even make custom devices, which would be like an object with its own fields specific to that object. So a printer can have, is it color, is it laser, all that kind of stuff. And then you could just also add those into your own devices and track them that way. If you want to track warranties, we have a lot of internal IT outfits doing exactly that. So if you feel like you're stuck on that for any reason, just shoot me an email at andy@syncromsp.com, and I can walk you through what to do there.
We had a question from Stuart saying, are there any plans to add project management and planning functionality? And so absolutely, we are currently kind of in the early design / investigation mode for ways that we can do a better job of supporting folks with project management. And so if anyone on here wants to have a conversation with someone from product on exactly what you're looking for or whatever, just throw us a message in the chat or something like that, and we can reach back out and set up some time to chat with you about it. Any chance background tool features would be implemented into the mobile app? I don't think we have any plans right now to do that, but we've asked about it here, so we can definitely take a look at what that might look like. No plans right now, though.
James is asking is what elements of the website redesign and branding are going to make it over to the actual product? As Dee was saying up at the top, it would basically, like the muted elements and colors, we may be using some of those within the app. It's not going to look like the website does today. And you might see, obviously, like our logo is changing in a couple places. Is there anything else you want to add there for context, Dee?
I will say that the new screens that I showed in the webinar today of the ticket view redesign, those pages are essentially using the new colors for the most part. So what we've done is we've taken like primary colors, like our button colors, and we've created them to be like an almost black color. And so we're really leaning in on the blacks and grays as opposed to the teals. And we are not going heavy on orange, just because as an everyday usage app, we really want to use that color pretty sparingly. So you might see, as Andy mentioned, you might see our logo in one or two places, and you might see like tiny hints of orange in various places. But what you will see, the biggest change you'll see in the app, the user experience is going to be updated and upgraded, quite a bit in terms of the controls and the way they operate and all of that. But from a branding and color perspective, it will be that it's just less branded and it's much more kind of neutral, bold, neutral tones, a lot of grays, a lot of blacks, with tiny pops of the brand orange color.
Okay, Jason's asking a follow-up to the prepaid hours. And so, Bobby, if you're listening, I know we've talked about this before. He's basically saying he's got lawyers that are basically on retainer for support. Oh, sorry, like a lawyer would, basically has retainers for support. And he wants certain, okay, so what you're really asking for, I would call it block money, where it's like, you gave me $1,000 and then I'm just going to bill you an hourly rate. So it might be like normal support's $100, elevated support's $150, overnight support's $200, whatever. And it just chops away at that prepaid block. Um, Sorry, I was hoping one of them chimed in the background. I know it's something that they're looking at. Oh yeah, okay. He says it does sound like block money. He's interested in that. So you might be seeing that sometime next year. But we've been getting that question more and more, and I think that's a very valid way to do it. And I think for the customer, it's a little bit easier too, where you're not treating all your different labor types as like equivalent units. So yeah, good suggestion there. James is asking background tools for Mac. I think you will see some Mac updates, James. I don't know if we would really bring the backgrounding tools for Mac, and that's primarily because you're so limited in what we have access to, just because of the way they wall off that ecosystem. So there's not too much we could really do there. So probably not on that one.
So someone asked for, can we get a view into what's happening for 2025 high level? And, I'll say there's a lot on the docket for 2025. We are going to be, all the things that are on that roadmap as like on deck and in progress, right? So network monitoring, we're doing updates to patching. We have our eye on some other things in and around like upgrading Mac. We have our eye on assets and how can we like really make asset management easier. So there's a lot of different things that are kind of on the docket. I do plan to survey folks again. And so the one thing you can do that was like super helpful, and I know for folks that are here, you're really engaged with us and we really appreciate it. And so if I pop up a survey in that app for you, if you could take the 5 minutes to fill it out and be thoughtful about it, I really will read everyone and my team will, and we'll go through them all. And that will be helpful in us like nailing down the order in which we do things for 2025 and which things we push out and which things we do sooner. And then we are planning to do another webinar for January. I think it will be maybe a little bit later in the month in January, and we'll plan to make it a little bit more than just I don't want to say just the January release webinar, but then just a release webinar. And we'll likely do a little bit more of a broad look at 2025 in that conversation as well. So a lot more to come next month on that. So I think with that, this could be a wrap for our final 2024 webinar.
So everybody, I hope you all have a nice holiday. Hope nothing catches fire and you all get to spend some time with your families. Dee, I hope your house is intact.
I just shut the shade. I was like, I can't even look out there. So I'll take a look after. It was too distracting.
We'll see everybody next month.
All right, take care all. Thank you.